we're gonna be moving pretty fast through this, just in case there's a decent amount of posts. So yes, let's do this. Okay, so salt mines or Alexander. So you're looking for critique on your latest piece in terms of composition, lighting, and storytelling. It's a single shot environment image. So I like that you have this little like video that you're floating around in. You just finished it a couple days ago. Oh, nice. Okay, so if we let's do this. So for me, from like an environment standpoint, I would say this is more of a, at least because of the rendering, it's more of like a look dev / concept vibe that I'm getting from this, you know? And maybe that's not your intention, but I'll portray it as that. So when I look at this image, I see there's some foliage down here. I see there's a catwalk type thing up here, some like overhead structure or structural elements, and then we've got some fans, maybe circulating air for the foliage or whatever's growing down here, as well as some like machinery. Now the lighting, if we look at the lighting initially, I would say the lighting is telling us that this place is maybe forgotten. It doesn't really have a feeling of this is operational right now. This is maybe more like it either just went offline or there's like emergency lighting or, you know, it's just not operational is what it feels like. It doesn't feel overgrown or anything, so I think it's pretty recent what's going on. Compositionally, I think it's working pretty well. I don't really know what to focus on, but then if I start looking around, I'm like, oh, there's a character up there. So I don't know what the story is. I mean, there's a little bit of foliage up here, so maybe it is supposed to be overgrown. So if there's this additional foliage kind of like on the fans and stuff and like up in this area, there's a little bit here, it looks like. You got some green here and then some silhouettes of leaves and whatnot. And then you have all this detail here. So from like a world building standpoint, you got to make sure that those elements kind of align with the timeline. So like I can't tell if this is just recently gone offline, if it's some type of an emergency state, or if it's been a lot offline for a long time. I'm assuming a long time because there's some growth in areas that you wouldn't expect. And in that case, we have to explain visually how that happened, right? So for it to be up here, it's got to be just overgrown to the max. It's usually better to go, this is my theme, or like this is the direction I'm going in, and just turn it up to 11, and then take people's feedback to dial it down in areas where it feels like too much. Even if it turns out to be the whole image, it's better to really lean into the theme, and then from there, like pull back based on reaction and feedback. Overall, though, compositionally, it's quite strong. Lighting wise is kind of telling me the same thing I was just talking about, where it's like I'm not sure if it's recent or in an emergency state. I would assume emergency state is going to be yellow or red lighting, just because of like the nomenclature of what we consider emergency state in this type of environment. Even if this was real life, we would relate with more yellows and reds for an emergency. So I'm going to imagine abandoned and it's just not overgrown enough. But yeah, it's really cool. Compositionally, it's fine. Storytelling, I like that there's a character up here. I just don't know what the story is. I'm assuming they're exploring this space. And it's like, you've got some like pods here for growth. I'm assuming that that's the main reason this space exists. Valterra, good to see you. Hello. So I assume the whole space exists for either food or like oxygen production. Just because it's very sci-fi, you've got these pods for foliage, and then it's more, I think this is water here as well. I think really selling the functionality of the space, then turning it off lighting wise, and then putting it in this either abandoned or an emergency state will help us understand what it is. And then the overgrowth will tell us how long it's been in this state. But I think if there wasn't a character here, I would wonder what we're supposed to be focusing on as well. Like I look here, and that's mainly because of like lighting focus. So something to keep in mind. But really cool. It's a really interesting scene. It needs that grounding that I'm talking about. Yeah, the character exploring the space, straight up. I think maybe having a flashlight on the character might help a little bit. If you turn the lighting off here and then have the flashlight kind of cast along the shape here, you might get an interesting detail. But yeah, super nice. It's interesting. It's an interesting scene. It's just clarity. Cool. Let's go to Justin. And I think I moved your. Is this? Yes. Okay. So this looks cool. Let me see what else we got here because you sent 4 pictures and then like your reference. I think this is the reference here for like your lighting. And we'll zoom out here. So initially, you've gone into the texturing phase, but I feel like the lighting is currently lacking when it comes to like how do you push the visual. So like let me copy this image. Let's bring it over here. New from clipboard. Cool. So if we bring in the levels here and just like bring this up so we can see everything. Like this is, of course, this is too bright. But when you look at the image overall, oh, no worries, Justin. We're just getting into this. Welcome. So when you look at this scene, there is so much happening. And from a logic standpoint, you don't really understand how, like why it's laid out the way it is or like how things move around. So like think about the function of this space. Think about how the average person, if you want to say it like that, enters this space. Do they come from like down in the bottom right here and they walk in this way? Do they come in from over here? Is this even an opening? Do they first, is this room like a hub to like the center of an entire location? Think about where the player comes in from or the character or whatnot, and think about the logic of what this room exists for. It looks like there's a bell here. There's 2 characters doing a pose that likely has to do with like either activating the bell or it's telling a bigger story. But if you're to remove the characters, remove your blockout characters, these statues, the bell is here. You've got these stairs like everywhere. Look at how you would make this space if it needed to function from you walking into it. You're looking around. Okay, where am I going? Readability, understanding like these stairs right now. Like scale wise, they look like they work. So this is more of like a balcony area. You've got this kind of wavy pattern. It's quite thin, so it's more of a facade. But then readability wise, you don't see the stairs here because of this structural element here, right? And that structural element, you don't see mirrored over here. So the room is not really symmetrical. And I think if you could see these stairs, it would be much easier for you to understand the structural layout or design of the room. The function's definitely the bell or presenting the bell and maybe the mythos or the idea behind the 2 statues in the bell. But how you navigate the space, why it's so crowded with elements, I guess these are details that have collapsed. You still have to think about it from a exploration sense or like being able to move around in it. And if we lower the lighting back down, which I will say looks more balanced value-wise because the lighting looks a little bit more accurate, but it's probably more here. Like if I bring this over here, you can see this whole range here that I've clipped out is not really adding anything. And it's more about like starting to peak these values. So maybe about that much. And being able to read the space. So use this lighting in order to help you see where you're going. You can see as well with the lighting, Your materials tend to be dark in certain areas, and that might be more of a balance of your albedo and whatnot. Like if we go back to the, where are we at here? If we go back to this and we start looking through these shots, like this shot's quite strong, but I don't know how to read the space outside. Like I don't know that there's stairs down there, right? And it's about like being able to read the space and understand where you're at. This shot, for example, is extremely dark, but then there's some elements that are quite light that feel separate from the rest of the environment. You have to use lighting in order to separate elements and help us be able to read the space. Like for this shot, for example, it's very dark, right? This is all in shadow. So there's nothing telling us what to focus on, what we're supposed to be looking at. The materials, like the hard edges, you're using like looks like a curvature mask, or a convexity, I should say, for like the edges to be highlighted. And those feel very uniform and consistent, which can feel a little jarring if you're going for a more realistic approach. And when you look at your reference here, you're getting the rays. If we go back here, you're getting the, well, hang on here. Let's copy this. And I'll go back here and paste this. So you're getting the rays correct and the brightness of the main source. But you can see even in your references, the readability of the space is quite easy to see, like, okay, I could just keep going down this way. Or there's water here and I go this way and I can work my way up there. With this one, you can see there's a big open space, like an area of rest. This is an area of rest as well. And you can kind of make your way through there. Again, you're just being able to kind of make your way through the space. Whereas if you look at, oh man, my brain's like, Photoshop? No, you're not Photoshop. If you look at the layout here, it's kind of only readable in the sense that you're up at a high angle that you wouldn't actually see if you were playing the space. And compositionally, the space breaks, like you're like, okay, unimpeded, and then it visually stops here, even if there is a space to walk around here. So it's making sure that you can read and understand the layout of the space. And definitely, like faking the bounce of the light, the main light, will definitely help. Maybe the materials are slightly too dark in the albedo, so it's not really getting as much bounce as you would expect anyways. And so it's those things to think about. And readability is everything when it comes to this type of scene, because it can become so dark so quickly. You can see there's a lot of bounce light happening here that's filling in those areas, and that's likely just like a rectangle light facing the ceiling, the shadows off, just really toned down, but just hitting the ceiling. It's not necessarily always going to be lumen that'll help get these to happen. I think I use some of these same refs. I mean, these are pretty nice images. Very good reference. Yeah. Yeah, definitely look at how in these references, how they're dealing with their shadows or areas that are in shadow but still visible. Yeah, and rec lights are super helpful. Miro, what's up? How you doing? I mean, it's very easy early on to rely on just lumen. Either way, I hope that was helpful. I think it's about the readability and understanding the space and how it's laid out so that you can read how you would connect between the different areas, like the upper floor, lower floor, how they're connected with stairs, and just making sure it's not too busy. Like you can have a space look really collapsed and destroyed. Like this looks pretty collapsed. Like there's a lot of like pieces that have fallen, it looks like, but there's still large areas of rest. It's probably the last thing I could say on like this shot, for example, is there's a lot going on, so it's hard to read, right? So remember, like, this is high frequency detail. The stairs, high frequency detail. This area here is a little calm. This area right here is a bit calm as well. You want to take that calmness and expand it to about 70% of your image and leave the 30% to this type of detail. And you can do that in a number of ways. Whether it be like the value or the contrast differences between the surfaces. Like if this area, if the lighter details were kind of pushed down and the darker details are pushed up, it kind of levels it all out. And then this becomes detailed, but not like busy. So getting some offset and adjustments in there to try and give yourself some space where it's not really busy. Of course, these pots also are really bright, so they don't really fit the scene right now, but I assume you're still getting to that. Yeah. No, it's really cool. It needs that tuning, that adjustment. I mean, the pots don't look placeholder. They look like they just need a texture pass and then they're good. I don't think they need to go much further than what they are now. They just need a good material on them. In a space like this as well, you can see how this bell pops out with like being metallic, and it's got what do you call it? What is that called? When it this patina, there you go, the patina effect. This kind of like greenish blue. Like while that's happening, yeah, thank you, Corbin. Do the stream delays is real. So you've got that patina effect and the metallic attributes. Any opportunity you have to add metallic attributes inside of the space, doesn't have to be everywhere, but it'll really help with like leading the eye. Like maybe you have the metallic elements following the paths, right? Maybe the top of this, there's a little dot there. Maybe the metal goes down this. Maybe these are metal. So it leads you and helps you understand the symmetry or the pathing of the space. Yeah, the patina is, if I remember correctly, is the oxidation of this type of metal. And the end effect is a patina color or a patina-ing of the surface, which is what this greenish blue is. But yeah, really cool. Just needs that tuning, you know? And then you can start getting this look a little bit further. And you can notice all the surfaces are quite wet as well, or like damp. That does a lot for the surfaces and like how they receive lighting, how they receive reflections. All right. The next one that was up was from Anthony. Would love some feedback on the texture and lighting, or anything else to push this piece to the next level. Attach references as well. Ah, this is you, Unicorn. Hello. Is this, let me see here. Okay, this is zoomed in, so it I'm like, it looks a little blurry, but it's because I'm zoomed in. Man, this angle is really deceiving. Like you don't know the scale really. Okay, so your reference is this. So you're mixing some elements, it looks like. Or maybe you went, hang on here. Let me see if I'm reading this right. Okay, so you've essentially created this. You got some good references for what elements you're looking at. You got the kind of finned pattern that's happening here. No problem, Justin. You tried using warm lighting to adjust to lead the eye? Yeah, I mean, if you use warm lighting and then you have a cool ambient to back it up, that's a good approach for sure. So I don't think you need this angle or this angle. They kind of make the asset feel strange in scale. This view is really nice, and I think lends itself to having you look into this area. I mean, maybe instead of this angle, you can be tilting more up to see the functionality of like how it's put together. But generally, it looks pretty good. I'd be curious to see like a higher res reference to know. I mean, you're kind of getting it here, but the roughness difference between like the wood and the metals and the other elements that are on the pistol, or yeah, I guess this is a pistol. High quality boomstick for sure. It's like getting some roughness separation between the wood and the metal elements is going to help a lot. I think right now the wood is maybe a little too reflective. Like the roughness is just a little too low in value. Like this looks like it's maybe sitting at like a 0.5 or a 0.6, and I turn it up to like a 7.5, and that'll really separate the type of material that you're getting for the wood versus the metal. The other thing is, I don't know if this is this uniquely baked, or are we doing like layered materials here? Yeah, the wood looks noisy as well. Yeah, I agree with that. So I would honestly, I would get a detail normal of wood, and I would get a detail normal of the metal, two materials. So let me look here. So when I look at this, I would expect this to be one material. And then I would use a mask. Maybe let me think how to say this. I would use a mask to control uh, detail normal strength. And then I would use, I mean, there's a couple ways you could do this, but you could use vertex color to separate out the wood from the rest of the weapon. And then you use that vertex color to tell it which detail normal to use. Should it be using wood or should it be using metal detail normal? And then you need a mask. Maybe it could be in the albedo or the blue channel of the normal. And that mask tells you the strength of the detail normal. That way you can have areas where you make it slightly more smooth or almost entirely smooth, and there are areas where you're doing full strength detail normal. That'll give you the complexity and the fidelity that you're looking for when it comes to resolution. Man, this area is sick. Could use the metal mask if it's using that. Yes, you could use the metal mask. That's a great idea instead of vertex color. So what is metal and what is not metal will depict like which detail normal to be using. And then individually controlling the strength of that detail normal with another mask will go a long way. And then just using roughness to separate the wood from the metal, I think is going to be really important. And then this angle and this angle, I don't think you need. This one I quite like, and I think having strength control on a mask for the detail normal will help like make this surface more interesting than if it was just uniquely textured. But pretty cool. Some good references as well for like so each, if you need to lower the quality to like 720p, you're getting it source at 720p, not 1080 down res to 720p. So each of the resolutions should look sharper, supposedly. Responses should be faster. Like when I see your message versus being able to respond to it should be quicker as well. But let's see. I still don't know why the music's not working. We have a little bit of time to mess around before we get going, since there's not too much art to look at. If you have stuff you want me to feedback on, there's room. I just wanted to make sure that the people who posted on Thursday get their feedback. Yeah, if not getting the music through. That is interesting. Mic's working though, so that's good. Yeah, the delay used to be like 5 to 10 seconds. Anyways, okay. Maybe I'll just not worry about the music for now. Chris, what's up, man? How you doing? Good to see you. Alvin, good to see you as well. Gunnar, hello. Corbin, yo, yo, yo. Doing good, good. Dude, it's crazy because now that I know who you are, when I see you type, I can hear you say it. It's pretty wild. Eugene, what's up? Hello. What's up, Joe? Okay, I'm gonna switch to the work here. Let me just see if I'm not crazy. Yeah, cool. Okay. Let me know how the image looks and whatnot. Does it if it looks sharper and Duretti, how you doing? Yo. I'm good, man. 39 years old now, kind of wild. Oh, hang on, I need to shut this door. Oh, wait. I don't think I can. I think because the internet wire is not going through the wall, it's going to the door. You have an interview on Monday. Dude, nice. Thanks, Joe. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to go off of the text that you gave before, Martin. But then we'll look at the updated images. These should be the updated images, and then I have your Miro board as well. So you were saying, hi, Din. Hope you had a great day. This is currently what I'm working on. The F1 engine for the Saturn V rocket. I wasn't sure if I should post this because the materials and textures are still very early, with some details missing on some objects not having material at all. I think I had mentioned, this is probably around the, it's not AV1, it's the other thing, but I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it. But it should be better. It should look much better. I think I'll go here while I'm talking. Yeah, so let's bring this down as well. So you were saying some of the details aren't textured yet. You'd appreciate some feedback and critique on what is there so far, especially in terms of texturing and also on topology if there's time left. Any recommendation on how I can push this even further would be really appreciated. Cool, and then you have a Miro board. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take a look. That's good to know, though, Majestic, that it just looks crisper. It's really good. Okay, well, just hopefully it stays stable. Right, so, I mean, this looks pretty cool. We'll look at your Miro board here in a second. Material-wise, I mean, I like that you're taking an approach of having it quite a bit more aged. Maybe some initial reactions to the things that I am seeing textured is these weld lines here. They're a bit wobbly. I'm not sure if that's because of the bake or of like how or if that's intentional. Thank you, Devil. So that wobbliness there. Let's see what the let's see how it aligns to your. I mean, it could. Oh, hang on here. It could be bake, because if we look at the. I don't know if that's bake. Either way, the wobbliness sticks out. It's because they straighten the UVs. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting as well because like if you need to temporarily, you can add extra loops to the high poly, or sorry, to your low poly, and then bake it to clean that up, and then you can remove those loops later and just make sure your UVs are retained. And that can help with like giving a more accurate selection or like loop cage, if you want to say it like that, from your low poly. But I mean, depending on what the goal is of this asset, says a lot about like how you're doing with your topology, and because there's some areas that are quite detailed with bolts and stuff, but the bolts are so large that you could say that it's fine to be like this, right? But yeah, it's just by nature of what details we're seeing here, it's just going to be high poly. And it looks like you're going low enough. Like if you really needed to cut it down in here, you could turn that into a material that you, nice, Joel. You could make this a material that's displaced, right? And then all those loops are missing, and then it just does the displacement to get the silhouette look of the detail. But yeah, is there? Hang on, I'm zooming way in here. It's gonna get a little low res, but you can see like there's an extra loop here on these little tiny pieces. I don't know if that's an illusion or, but it looks like there's an extra loop. Anything that's not adding to the differences in the silhouette, like you're definitely trying to optimize in here, which is cool, and then you're up-resing it just in time to be looping around these support connections between the pieces, which is definitely is one way to do it. Like it'll look higher res here at the silhouette points, but then lower res in here where you're not even really going to notice it. Yeah, I mean, this looks good. It looks really good. The aging and the textures look pretty good as well when it comes to like where you're expecting like it doesn't look like it's just being generated. I wouldn't hesitate to paint out areas, like if you are doing like a general mask over the top. Omar, what's up? Like you have this mask that's kind of adding a dirtiness to the surface of the metal, and that's something that you can definitely adjust accordingly. A lot of this could be trim sheet details, and maybe that's how you're approaching it. Let's see what we're looking at here. This is great, this breakdown you did. Yeah, so you're doing a lot of like breakdown on how, why can't I, there we go. That's weird. Yeah, you've got your reference board here. Oh, this is, yeah, dude, look at this guy, so proud. Yeah, a lot of these references are really, really good, and they're getting you the details that you're looking for. Yeah, I think in this like inner area between the rings is a good spot to like, it's an opportunity to be quite optimized. Let me see how yeah, you're keeping this pretty low, but still you're letting the material do the talking for you, right? I think when you squint at like your main reference, seeing what's popping out, like these rings are definitely a lot more reflective than these pieces here, and getting that contrast difference between the materials, I think is going to be beneficial. And that looks like it's mainly on the roughness side of things. Like you can get a lot more fidelity out of seeing these like little details, having those pop in the roughness, but then generally having this quite a bit more rough than the rings. And then you'll get, see, you're kind of doing it. I would go even more so, and maybe the contrast in the material is like in the albedo is more mid-ranged as well. But again, it could just be because of how the lighting is set up in this shot. Man, there's a lot of details in here. It's crazy. It's really cool though. You can see the paying attention to how these highlights read and how they go away as they wrap around the mesh is going to be really important, because that's how you get the surface to really feel right. It's like you make the highlights that you would see exactly how you would perceive them in real life, and that's kind of what ends up causing something to look super photoreal. Like you can see the highlight here, and then there's this highlight here. I guess it's more about maybe trying to replicate the lighting scenarios you're seeing. Fatal, what's up, man? Yeah, you can see in their normal, Like this, these areas stick out, but then the rest is quite smooth. Almost looks like a barrel, if you want to say it like that, like a wooden barrel. Sarika, hello. Where's the party hat, Jer? I don't have one. It's probably at a bar somewhere from yesterday. I don't remember. And the balloons. Oh, I have no balloons either. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You guys can add the balloons and the party hats in chat if you'd like. I'd appreciate that. But there's a ton of reference and like. You don't remember? Must have been a good evening. The present's right in front of me. It's all these monitors I bought. That's my present. Oh, and breakfast. Oh, I had a nice breakfast. Anyways, this looks, yeah. I think you're heading in the right direction, and it's going to be about balancing the information you're seeing. Dude, that's so cool. The little spots of roughness difference around some of the bolts. See, if this is a tileable material, you can probably make that quite high res. I guess it depends how you're splitting this up, right? Like you can see you're splitting it up this way, but I don't know. Material, stainless steel, turbine. Yeah, you're doing breakdowns of each piece. But I don't know how you're putting it together in the background. Yeah, this mural is really nice, really clean. And you're going into like breakdowns from that. So you like turn it from overall image to a macro element. And then that macro element you break down even further, and then you have like references from materials and even goes even further with the reference of just general imagery of like the object from like every possible angle. No, it looks good. It's really coming together. I think once you have everything textured, I would start looking at it from like a roughness standpoint and then just see where everything is at generally. Yeah. Was always, so Guda's asking, what's up, Raggedy? Was always wondering if there's a resource somewhere on how long it should take in production pipeline for such assets. I do recall there being a polycount budget, but I don't recall one for. So the thing is there's a general like, okay, you give this asset to a specific artist, and that artist will take maybe about this much time. And if production needs it to be faster, is there a faster artist on the team that would want to do this? Or like accepting that that artist would do it and it's fine that it would take that long. But this would be in the hero prop category and probably would be assigned to quite a skilled artist. I would probably expect to see something like this first pass in engine after 2 working weeks to this quality. So 80 hours. But you can hear the Scrum through your words. That's not Scrum, man. It's time management, right? I mean, if that's all they're doing and they have certain stages they're hitting as they develop it, they're likely going to be using tileables or like have a kit that they're going off of for the parts that they're using along this. And maybe that kit's already been built, so it really depends. Check Twitter, check Facebook. Get bored, chat with friends, sure. I mean, the other thing too is if you think about a work week, this is a little bit of a side tangent, but if you think about a work week as 40 hours, you should cut off about 20% for things like going to the bathroom or meetings or random chats that happen. So if I say 80 hours, that probably means it's more like 2.5 weeks, maybe 3. And yeah, it's not necessarily about who can complete it the fastest. It's like we have a bucket of things to make. let's make them, this is our deadline. How do we rearrange that to try and give it to the artists that want to do those types of things, the artists that want a challenge, and we feel like we have the time for them to challenge themselves, but then at the same time fitting inside of that window. Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be iteration, right? It'll come back. Maybe something won't be working how you want it. Yeah, that's why I say we don't really think about it. And how long will this take, or how do you track this, and or sorry, how long on average would something like this take? It always depends. You'll know though, based on the team you're with, who this would fit well. If you know your team, you'll be like, oh, so and so could do this. They would, like, this person would enjoy doing it, or this person would be pretty good at doing it, but maybe they would need a little bit extra work. And they're sitting next to the person because we've planned for that person to get better at this type of stuff, next to a person that's really good at it, so that they can teach each other and like push and learn in a perfect world, right? But yeah, cool. Hopefully that was useful. Bit of a tangent. So this one's Sheila, or Shyla maybe. Yeah, you did some time polygon and texture estimates when you did outsourcing. Yeah, and estimates help for like, it's not about being exact, it's about getting an estimate, right? You're kind of, it's probably going to take about this long. There's still space for things to happen. And yes, Martin, that rocket is looking, that engine's sick. It's really, really cool. It's a great texturing baking exercise. I'm sure you're learning a lot just by making that. Okay, so Sheila or Shayla, other than the main camera from the concept, I've added some extra shots to show more of the environment. How do you think they work? Also, what are your thoughts on the texturing or textures and lighting overall? Is there anything else you think I could improve at this stage? Still need to texture and place some of the props. So I'll go a little bit backwards through your text. So I would probably, if you think that there's still need to texture and place some of the props, I would place all the props you think you're going to need. Try and place everything, even if it's blocked out. Just get it in the scene because it'll help you know if it's too much already, just from a blockout stance, right? Still need to texture some objects. Thoughts on texturing and overall and lighting overall. So if we look at this piece, man, I really like these shapes back here. Let me hop around a little bit. So this is the concept, right? Let's bring this one up here. Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. So generally speaking, I mean, it's pretty close. The outside's quite a bit brighter, so I'd maybe try and push that. You're seeing a bit more of the sky in the concept, just kind of peeking through the trees. So I think starting by making the sky brighter and maybe the directional light brighter will do a lot. And maybe it's just a matter of messing with exposure. You can also see in the concept that there's a bit more bounce light happening over on this side that's coming in through the side view, I would assume. Now, when it comes to lighting, I think when you make it in 3D and you actually have the lighting generating, it's, it's like going to be more accurate than the concept in the sense of like where the light sources are coming from. But if you feel like this is getting too dark, it already looks like you're doing pretty well with balancing the lighting inside. Maybe it's just a matter of increasing the boost of the GI or the bounce. The saturation difference between the red and the gray of the stone. Let's see here. Yeah, one of the things that's happening is because you're displacing the stones on the floor, you're really wanting us to see the displacement, right? So you're really pushing it. I think in one of the other images you really see it, like down here. So you're really, really displacing it in order to make sure that we as the viewers see that the ground has all that height variation. Think about it from the realistic standpoint, or like the reality of it. That if you're doing that, you can see that in the concept it's quite flat here, and there's a lot of sand kind of filling in the gaps. I would try and tone the displacement down a bit and let the roughness do the separation for you. Because as you displace like this, the sides that aren't getting lit are going to be causing this like shadow darkening effect, which just adds to more like busyness, noise, contrast differences at a high frequency. So this becomes very busy, even though in the concept it's actually not all that busy. It might even be worth, yeah, I think I would just tone down your displacement maybe to about half of what it is right now, because it can still have the displacement, and the stones here look smaller than the ones up here. Might be worth tiling the ones up here a little bit less so that the stones become larger, because then the displacement even at low value will you'll still see it, right? The other nice thing with displacements is this sand skirting that you're seeing in the concepts. You you can place those, and it looks like you have some form of a kit for sand. I'd build like a large kit of sand pieces that are maybe world projected materials, later raggedy. And so from that standpoint, you can then adjust and scale them, and the sand piles will maintain their size. If you need them to blend between materials, you can use like what you would call it, distance fields in the other materials to show like a world projected sand material when they come in contact with that specific mesh. Okay, let me read the rest of the messages here and just see. Um, Generally, I think it's quite strong. If you look at so you have this zoomed in view of the focal point from the original concept, and you can see these curves that are in the back here. Your curves are quite close. I would actually bring this further out, just so that it just feels very close. I guess I would expect them to be same thickness, but maybe like the ring itself is just larger, right? So maybe it's more out here, because the space between these is like uneven feeling, but it's likely due to perspective and whatnot as well. So something to keep in mind. But generally, it's looking really good. Once everything is in and placed and whatnot, you can start tweaking like the displacement we were talking about here, or the tiling on the floor. Something also to watch out for is with displacements, it's really easy for things that are meeting the display surface to feel uneven or floaty. So watch out for these like the details under here as you start playing with that. This is cool too. You don't actually look this direction. And this leads me to a question of scale. So this door feels like a normal door, and these stairs, I'm starting to not understand the scale from this view. So I think when you look at the concept, figuring out the scale, trying to find something that's relatable. Like there's these little leaves down here. The size of the stairs, the size of the candles tells you the size of the character maybe, right? So I'd get a character in there and trying to, like, the size of the books is probably the best one, and the sword. That'll tell you the scale of the space, because there's nothing in here really going, hey, this is how wide it is, or this is how big it is. So it's something to watch out for. Because from this view, it's hard to tell. Even just having a handle on the door, would help immensely for that type of stuff. This is cool. You're kind of having to solve things that aren't seen, but like match the theme, and that's kind of a thing you have to get good at when you're building environments. It's like, oh, we need to build this place, and then okay, and then you request a concept, and you get like two or three concepts if in a good scenario that kind of break down the whole space. But what if you only get one? How do you expand that theme to the entire room? And then maybe like art directors are like, okay, well, we need to, maybe we have a library that kind of extends to the right, but there's no time to get that concept. You need to be able to take this image and go, okay, what would a library look like that would follow this look? And you're kind of getting hints of it here, and it's like, how do you expand that and scale it up? So you're solving a lot of that by the nature of like having to deal with areas that aren't in the concept. It's cool. It's a good challenge to be pushing yourself on. Okay, I think that was it on that one. Yeah, we got this one. Cold. What is it? Cold Blood. Yeah, Cold Blood. It's actually the logo makes it hard to see that it actually says blood. Like I see the scrape and all that. Cool. Before we get into this, how's the stream running? Is it better than normal? Is there an improvement? I'm not seeing any drop frames, and performance seems to be okay, but I want to hear on like visual quality and whatnot. Really smooth on your end? Are you guys watching at 1080? Like a pro streamer. Get out. Yeah, 1080, perfect. Nice. Awesome. Okay, good. Handsome as always. That's the feedback you're looking for, right? Crisp. Hella crisp. Awesome. Okay. Let's keep pushing. So this one's from Justin C. Or no, this one's from Alan. Did we miss? No, we did just. Wait, hang on here. Oh no, we did Justin's. Okay. From the previous stream. That was his reference was later. Okay. So this one's Alan. Hey Jeremy, would love to hear your feedback on my most recent work. I have newer stuff, but it's under NDA. So, okay. I think we looked at this on critiques. This is definitely inspired by Division 1. Nice. Okay, my first initial reaction. So generally everything is feeling pretty good here. Road lines maybe feel a little small, size-wise. And you have to think about when the shiz is hitting the fan, you know? What would you do with the roads as like a functioning body of either government or military or police functions? They'd probably be like walling off certain ways to go through, trying to control traffic and give like clear paths out to either camps to help people or like paths for the military. So like there'd be a clear channel that military can get all the way through really quickly. And then, you know, where do civilians go and where are areas that you're not allowed to go? A street very open like this is basically, this is more akin to COVID and no civil unrest other than this police officer car that wrecked into this pole. So it's thinking about how do you fill the space with elements that help further tell the story and the big picture. The other thing I was noticing is like this car burning. So this fire is going to emit a lot of light. So the inside of this is going to be quite bright. The snow is going to be quite melted around it, which I'm assuming you're doing. Yeah, it looks like it's a bit melted there. But I would melt it pretty far out and just get the puddles and really lean into like reflective surfaces pushing the fire in the reflection, right? This is my fire reflection emote, if you want to say it like that. Yeah, so this is going to be a very bright source of light. And the effects of it on the vehicle, like the text on here should be like black or maybe not even present. This straight line, I would just burn and like char that edge. Broken glass on the floor is also really like there's all those little details that you should add as well as like properly representing the light source that is the fire. This shot's odd because it's not really focusing on anything. Like it looks like it's looking at these props, but they're not in focus. So you don't know like, okay, maybe I'm supposed to be looking at something else. Looks cool though. Ooh, this one's crispy. That's nice. Yeah, so just the logic of like, why one barrier when you can have like 30? Because what's the function of this, right? Reflections? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, you get puddles on the ground and like melt the snow. It's going to do a lot. But thinking about the functionality of like what is added there and why it was added there, that does a lot. This view feels like an afterthought. Like you felt like you needed other angles, but didn't fully execute the quality of the content to match like what you're seeing of the main street. I would actually maybe remove this shot unless you want to like take a pass on the tents and get like a proper lighting pass on them to visualize them a bit more. Goth, what's up? Hello. Yeah, see, this one's much better for like what you're focusing on. If you're gonna get the camera this close, you might want a little bit more geometry around these like really hard edges, just so they don't come off low poly, or just blur them out with DOF. Oh, that's a nice. That was a nice transition with detail lighting. So I think I wouldn't even fade it to, because the fading is requiring that you give it time to fade. I would just do the same shots all together, but just detail lighting view. And outside of this, I would put here maybe detail lighting. Yeah, like this. I mean, this one's there, and then it changes to. It's so funny that the fire stays. This is a cool presentation. Interesting. There's a lot of videos and stuff. Nice. There's a lot of stuff in here. I'd be curious to see if someone were to add like, you got all this stuff, right? These are all videos. If you're saying like, oh, if you need more breakdown props or a breakdown that's not video, having a link in the description that just goes to a download folder. And it's just like a package that's for someone to assess the content if they can't get to ArtStation, for example, or whatnot. These are really cool, the buildings. The parallax and the windows, they really need to have variation. So I'd build like a library of like 4 or 5 different rooms and at least swap them around or scale them so that the rooms feel different. And they don't have to limit to like one room, right? Like 2 windows could be part of a single room. So you can do the parallax to like say like these 3 windows and these 2 are one room. That'll give you a lot more like scale and natural depth. It's interesting. Oh, that's cool though. Man, there's a lot of content in here. And then you have a big group as well. Yeah, see with this model, I would probably bake in bevels. That way it just feels higher res. It's orthographic too, which is quite interesting. A choice has been made. Yeah, yeah, with Spider-Man, yeah. It's the same in Div 1 and 2. Same tech. The parallax indoor spaces. Anyways, really cool. I think I'd want to see some more like. I'm not necessarily a fan of all the videos for breakdowns. It is a nice presentation, but I think you could do breakdowns like this, like I'd love to see the library of assets that are created just so that we have like a prop zoo or whatever. So I can see how many things were required in order to create the shot. Because then it shows how much reuse you're giving or you're working with. Pretty sick though. Pretty sick. All right, we got Nigel up next, right? Yes. Okay, so this is a Court of Justice. So Nigel would love to get some feedback on the entrance I made. I tried to blend Art Deco and sci-fi. I'm struggling with PBR and would like to get your opinion on what I can improve to make it more interesting. Let's see here. Some roughness variation. That's nice. So you definitely have the elements of the Art Deco in there, which is really cool. Art Deco is such a cool look. That's you? All right, cool. Yeah, so man, yeah, that's cool. Okay, so if you're struggling with PBR, I wouldn't try and like invent things at the same time that you're pushing your understanding of PBR. So a good thing to do is just, instead of like trying to merge Art Deco and sci-fi, which I feel like you're doing this is a pretty good job of merging those together. I would call this good, maybe a bit of polish work, right? And then put it aside, put it to your portfolio, and then push your PBR understanding through like recreation of something. Because the best way to understand PBR is to like reference against real world objects. Once you understand PBR, you get really good at exaggerating it and knowing how to push it one way or the other to get a specific look that's not necessarily PBR accurate, but it's PBR grounded in the sense of like, it's like when someone stylizes characters that has really good anatomy understanding. They'll know how to stylize better, right? But yeah. Dude, this is cool. The wires and the scale is quite interesting as well. If we look at this view, what I would do, I think, is push all of the little micro details in your roughness to get it to look quite nice up close. I mean, I think this is the intended distance you're wanting us to look at the asset. Normals look good. The albedo is a bit simple, and the roughness is like base level. Like getting interaction between surfaces that are meeting each other is like the next layer of like pushing your roughness. So I'd maybe like work on your albedo a little bit, work on your roughness and like the materials meeting each other and how they interact with each other over time, like drips and like the dirty pass, if you want to say it like that. It doesn't have to be super grimy. It might look intense in roughness as well, but it only needs to be in roughness. It doesn't necessarily have to be added to the albedo. So it can look pretty dirty in the roughness, and it'll just respond to lighting a little bit more. Maybe have like a light source that's more from above, so that way you get the shadows casting in a way that you see it a little bit more how you would in real life. It does look a bit Warhammery, doesn't it? Really cool though. But yeah, do all of that stuff. Polish that up, post it to your portfolio with the breakdowns and texture maps and all that. And then from there, you can take that and take your learnings from it and then focus on texturing some objects. Maybe you need to model a few or something, but texture them with like material understanding. Like, okay, I'm going to try and figure out how to get like metal to look this way, or I'm going to try and improve the way my metals look. I'm going to try and improve the way my paints look. Okay, how about paint chipping off of metal? So that's why, like, you probably heard me a long time ago talking about fire hydrants. They're really interesting because they're metal first, right? They're built, they're grounded, then they're painted, and then they get this huge aging layer on top of them. So there's a lot of like texturing character to them, which allows for a bunch of exercises when it comes to that. Could also be just working on objects that kind of check those boxes. Narrative heavy through material creation that are grounded so that they push your PBR understanding. But yeah, really cool. Nice. Okay, let me know if you have other questions though. Gonna go to Julian Darius, or is it Darius? I've been working. Hang on, let me switch to it here. So I've been working for a long time on this project. Still some way to go, but all the feedback are welcome for now. The scene still lacks a lot of level art and lighting. There are the next steps. I'm curious what you mean by level art. I guess it's like propping paths, right? So the logic is all there. You're just planning to do a pass of foliage and moss all over. Oh, interesting. I guess generally speaking, there's a lot going on here already. Like the stairs are quite busy. I guess because of the camera angle, it feels like the stairs are offset, but it's probably the same width as this door. I'd probably add beams here, right? Those are probably just missing. So all this detail right here feels like it's floating. Little pebbles and stuff, like broken parts of the pillars. Yeah. Like, where did this come from? I guess from here. And then it just fell to the side. But before pushing anything further, I would add all the propping that you think you're going to need, even if it's boxes. Like if it's blocked out shapes that are very, very primitive, getting them in there is going to do wonders for you. Because you need to understand how much detail is required. Like there's a whole rubble kit you're probably going to need for like creating piles and like buildup of rubble and helping ground things that are meeting the floor here, for example. Yeah. Hello there, Dupa. How you doing? So, I guess lighting wise as well. Right now it's backlit. It looks like the light's over here, but behind the wall. I'd probably see if you can cast it more front lit, unless you want light to come through the door somehow. Like it would probably require it split and like opened up. Because right now I don't know how that opens. It doesn't look like there's a seam here. So I'd expect maybe a seam here and like there's just two panels that open like a door, right? Doing good, Dupa. Doing good. Sunday. The frame does look odd even with proportion to the left side. Looks way smaller than the right. Yeah, so there's some scale stuff definitely that needs to be added. Just think about like what was this space before? How did they have lighting when it was nighttime? How did they like what are the paths on the ground? Where does this door lead to? Where are you coming from when you're heading towards this door? Like thinking about that logic will help you figure out what needs to be on the floor, where lights would go, like candles or like the big like metal structures that hold up lots of candles. There's this wall here. This wasn't enclosed, was it? This never was an interior, I don't think. But if it was an interior, there'd be a ton of stuff on the ground because all of the ceiling and all that stuff would have come down. So think about what this door is, how it opens, where it's leading, how you get to it, what the space is that we're standing in right now looking. Those are the things I think that are going to help you add that much more fidelity. There's some stone scale differences as well, like the stone on the bottom here versus the stone here is very different size-wise. But the gaps feel larger in the large one and then smaller in this one. So it's actually scaling versus like if they were making stones this large, the gaps would still look like this. They would just be larger stones, right? Whereas when you start to scale it up, the gaps become much larger. So I would author this stone material to look more like finite between the stones like you have down here, or the other way around. Make these ones have similar gaps to these. That way it doesn't just look scaled up. But yeah, I would get everything in here that you possibly are imagining you will need, even if it's just cubes and simple shapes. It helps you understand how much more you have to go before you get to the place you want to be in. Okay, the next one. Oh, this is cool. I like this. Yeah, there's some like nicer, finer details. Maybe these open and this swings open and all of this up here stays. Just, it's hard to tell. I think it'd be really interesting if this was open. It's a cool door too. Look at the faces and stuff on there. Yeah, I don't think you have to figure out what's over here. That's pretty intense if you're trying to do that. Okay, this one, Once Upon a Time. So this one's from Chonky Llama. What a dope name. Chonky Llama's. Let's see what's going on here. So Chonky Llama, hello, trying to mimic a mood similar to Little Nightmares, so that the main objective of the project was lighting. Feedback over the other project aspects would be great too. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna put me over here, so our transitions are smoother. Let's see what's going on here. So Little Nightmares, huh? I know Little Nightmares. Very cool game. So if we scroll down, okay, yeah. So you have like a winter version. Witches Gathering, experimental project techniques and tools. You wanted to avoid hand painting, so you went with mid poly, no low poly, high polys. So just like modeling outright and then just calling it good. Oh, this one's cool with the darker. So there's a lot of things going on in here. Oh, this is nice too. Very cool. So with shots like this, it's more about readability. What do you need us to be looking at? Where do you want us to go? Are we supposed to be able to understand the space for navigation? Or is it more like this shot almost looks like you'd have a UI element here, and then you'd be clicking on things to access different information, or like crafting or whatnot. So yeah, it looks like you're working a lot on like post volumes and lighting. This is just Blender as well. Interesting. Yeah, so you're getting like color randomization built into the objects themselves. Yeah. And you're increasing or decreasing probability of colors based on how much space they take up on the color ramp. So, oh, see, that one was kind of nice. Don't, you probably can't see this in the stream, but right below this, it says apologize for bad quality. Don't worry about, don't apologize. It's fine. The interior shot started as gameplay environment, but later I wanted to do more cinematic. Cool. I mean, it's like you're doing a combination of like lighting, but you're doing prop. The props are really nice. It's more about being able to read the space without it becoming too busy. So Generally speaking, these don't really give Little Nightmare vibes, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm more interested in the fact that this looks like your own stuff and not something else. I think working on what you want us to focus on and giving our eyes the ability to focus on those things through lighting and a combination of like readability. Like there's a lot of these spike shapes in the back. Like you added this, where is it at here? You added this background rim light, which I feel like is causing us to look at these shapes just because they're brighter. And I think if those are disabled and we are just seeing this hat shape and this, like these are just distracting you from the readability of the space as a whole. And knowing like how the space is being used from a camera angle is going to be really important. Like you have wires here, it looks like these like wiry shapes. Getting those wiry shapes to not cut, like this line here cuts the shot across, right? So it stops you from being able to like navigate your eyes through the space smoothly. Whereas like if this wire just went over here, this is now open. If this wire wasn't here, now all of a sudden your eyes can freely flow without having to actively like break through stuff. Like this, all this propping here is in the front of this. So like you have a break here, your eyes can't smoothly go this way. And then you want to look here, but there's all this stuff here. Like you would take all of this and maybe move it to the side more here. And it's just helping you breathe and view everything. We'll update in Discord. Lots to solve. So yeah, it's cool. But yeah, it's just about readability and understanding the space, and then being aware of like what you want us to look at. Has everything to do with how you light stuff. Because I think this background rim light is useful, but it's rim lighting objects in the back that we don't have a context to, and is getting us to look at them when maybe we should be focusing on these hats and then mainly the bottles and the shelf here and then the books and the candle here. I don't know where that light is coming from. Do you see that? Like there's this light source and then there's this light source. Then there's one back here, which maybe could be quite a bit toned down because you don't want us to be looking back there so much more than these locations. So yeah, a lot of compositional adjustments that can be done through lighting and just the way that you're propping stuff to help us read the space better. All right, Jolin. Yo, dude. Happy to see this posted. We have Droppy's post too. Hang on here. I just realized we didn't... Let me grab these really quick here. Wait, what? Oh, it's all one. Of course. I'm like, what's happening? So Droppy. Whipperino, nice. Hand sculpted rocks versus Megascan currently doing albedo. That's pretty cool, man. I think so right now it's blending into the scene quite well. Getting any like smaller rocks and stuff to help with, you're kind of doing it here, but maybe a little bit larger rocks to help like connect everything. Right now you can see it kind of breaks here. And I think sculpt wise, the only other thing to maybe highlight is what type of rock this is. Turning, what's up, man? So what type of rock this is, I think, has a lot to do with the shape language that you're working with. So I don't have any references based on what you're doing here, but visually, I think it's integrating into the environment nicely, and the scale seems pretty good. Whipperino, let's go. What's up, Greenwave? From research on this, I learned a lot about these types of rocks. What type of rock is this? Lahidaldin. No problem. I hope it was helpful. Yeah, what type of rock is this? I'm trying to look it up as well. This would be layers of deposits from many different types of soil from back when the desert was still an ocean. Right. So you should be seeing some like clear layering, right? Like sediment. But the way it's like eroded down is quite soft, so I'm assuming this is a very windy location. Yeah, it's like a sandstone. Let me see if I can. Okay. Well, with references, I can probably give better feedback. But generally speaking, how the shapes are working in the environment and how they're being blended to the terrain, it's looking quite good. I'd be curious to see if there's any like larger, rounder shapes that you would add to go from like very Nubian or Nubian. There we go. Um, Things you can do to go from really large to like large, medium, small, micro, right? Because everything is going to have that transition when they go huge, smaller, until you're like going to sand, basically, or like pebbles. But yeah, I'd be curious to see what the direct reference is on this because that's the only way I'm going to be able to give you anything that'll be helpful when it comes to the authoring of the stones themselves. Okay, coming back to this one. So the ivy turned out really great on this, man. It's a nice job. It took you a while to see it, not his photo. Yeah, I get you, dude. It looks pretty good, right? So this one's pretty awesome. Lincoln in chat. All right, let's see here. Yeah, I know you're talking about the rocks. That's kind of cool. Yeah, the general detail and look and feel is very consistent, which is nice. It does feel like it ends at the sidewalk, with just the way that it's shaded and modeled. I think if it felt more integrated to the ground around it, that'd be like the icing on the cake. There's also a bit of missed opportunity with just some decals to help connect things from a dirty sense, like grimy buildup or like where the beams meet the wall, that type of stuff. It's a little bit there, but it feels like it's a bit empty, like where things are meeting. Few pumpkins, dude. I like it. Yeah, I like the idea. This is really cool as well. I like how you approached the process here. So it's modular in a way, like how you were putting it together, but I appreciate the fact that you didn't try and like make it a modular kit that you're trying to make work across the board. Because I don't know if that was the goal, right? So the goal is to just create this building and make it look good. I mean, that's the difference between portfolio work and production work. Understanding modularity is great, but it does slow you down if you don't need to be modular for a portfolio piece. But yeah, generally the way you're approaching this is great. I love how you're like bringing the tree in to the side here. It does feel very on its own. Like I guess I would expect something. It's just by itself. Like you could take the entire building, duplicate it, and rotate it like you're doing back here, just to put a building next to it, or like across the way, or to the right of it. maybe the sidewalk is just a little too tall, so it's like creating a really harsh line. Maru's going. It's time, Maru. But yeah, no, it's really cool. The result is great. Oh, this is interesting with the roughness as well. There's probably some improvements that could be made with the Maru. Are you okay? Hang on. I just steal you, Maru. Come here. Go. I got him. You gonna be all right? Yeah. You gonna be okay here? Yeah, you'll be okay. Did I just knock my freaking iPad over? He's like, where am I going? He's trapped in here now with me. Okay. Yeah. All right. Looking at the roughness here, I think that's probably where the most improvements could be made when it comes to materials. Sup, dog? Polo, what's up? But yeah, you can see in your detail lighting is pretty nice as well. Maybe the no, I think it's all right. I was gonna say like getting the top to be feel brighter than the than lower down, but I don't think it's not necessarily how lighting works. Oh, this is cool to see how things are kind of broken down. Oh, nice, super nice. Yeah, getting nice surface breakup through vertex painting. Hell yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. Man, I like the autumn look that you have going. It like blends it to the environment so much more. Because generally the environment overall feels more autumn like. I think the I think what's missing the amount of leaves and trees that are around. I guess I would just expect more leaf buildup in the road area and like in the crevices and stuff. Hang on here. You're right, buddy. Mhm. Really cool though. This turned out great. Good job finishing it up as well. Should have gone berserk with leaves. Yeah, just something to think about in the future. I don't know if you necessarily need to go back to it just to make it happen, you know. Okay. Sam, Space Wizard. Hi, I recently just finished this model. I'm going to class. It is done for now, so I can move on to the rest of the props in the scene, making a detective desk. Oh, nice. Those are fun environments, detective spaces. Would love to hear your feedback on things to look out for to improve for the future assets on this presentation. Okay. So, so we're looking at just general, man, the materials on here are pretty cool. There's some weird like dirtiness that's really soft here, but I this kind of the only a little bit here as well. It feels a strangely placed, but it might just be the fact that like yeah, so it looks a little bit smoother there. Interesting. It's like someone who cleans their gun a lot. Let's see if I can load this up here. You can see it a bit in the albedo as well. I maybe would take it out of the albedo, or half the strength of that in the albedo, and let the roughness do the work. Oh, that is interesting. Execution on this is really nice though. Maybe the edge highlighting here is too consistent, so it gives it a bit of a processed look versus from aging and use. Getting these edges to be softer when it comes to like how the highlight is appearing. Because I think if I, where are we at here? I click here. Yeah, you can see how the highlights are pretty consistent around all the edges. Controlling that would help. Just all it would really be is putting a mask on top of it, hiding all of it, and then painting it back where you want it with like soft gradients and details like that. That'll give it a bit more of an authored look. When we look at the albedo, you see it as well quite a bit. This is interesting. Is this, I guess this is metalness, right? Metalness spec gloss. Yeah, here's the gloss map. And so with the gloss reflectivity, like these are the opportunities to add different colors in them so that the materials actually respond differently. Like, so for example, if we go here, the reflective surface here is giving the colored tinge just because the color, just because the color is there in the gloss, or sorry, where are we at here? In the reflectivity map. So I think it's mainly the hard edges and really like looking at these dirtied areas in the reflectivity and the albedo, just letting the gloss map or your roughness affect them and letting them do the hard work. Could be maybe a difference in range of surfaces as well. So you can see here, you've got this material, and then it changes this texturally to this. That could be an opportunity in the gloss to change the readability of that surface. You can see as well, maybe the fingerprints are scaled in strange ways, or like you probably just need like rubbed surface look around the handle, or the grip rather. Oh, that's interesting though. Yeah, so there's just room for improvements in this map specifically. Pretty cool looking though. Man, those are some huge shells. Pretty wild. Okay, give me a second here. Just gonna switch to this while I'm grabbing some stuff. Do you guys have any questions in chat or anything you want to talk about while I'm prepping the next posts? Just looking at some of the newer ones that got added here. Got David's, Chris is in here, Omar, David. Oh, nice. Yeah, some good stuff in here. Okay. So this one. Hey, no problem, Space Wizard. Dude, look at that. Okay, so this one is... Maybe scroll back to the post. So this one's from Eugene. Like some feedback. Almost finished work, but my files got... So I don't know if I finished this piece to its good end. Oh, man, that's brutal. Corrupted files are rough, man. This looks pretty interesting. I think it's the surface knowing what this material is. I'm sorry your files got corrupted, man. That's never fun. Knowing what this surface is Right now it feels almost like stone. It's like stone attributes. And then there's writing and a lot of wear and tear. So I'm not sure why it's so damaged. But there's a lot of nice attention to detail. I would probably, if the file's corrupted, I mean, this is already, I would just publish these. Yeah, like plastic. So this doesn't read like plastic to me. And I think it's because of the type of surface treatment and like how it's wearing. Like plastic doesn't necessarily wear like this here unless there's like some type of coating on top. It looks like this is in a, like, imagine we're in like a Jurassic Park facility and then this has been abandoned for like 10 years. That's the feeling I get from these surfaces. So it's more about just material understanding and getting some separation between the elements. Like this metal could be more reflective. That way it just pops more. Right, and because you're getting, like, in chat, people are saying, like, you're saying plastic, someone says marble, then there's feels more like rubber. So there's like being able to understand the PBR roughness ranges and like the way surfaces react with their detail normals or surface break, like all of this aging stuff here. Those are the elements that kind of push you in the direction of like looking like a specific material or not. So understanding those elements going forward, I think, is going to be key to your material improvements in the future. Now, that being said, with this file being corrupted, I would just post these, and don't talk about the file being corrupted or anything. Just post these images and say what you were trying to do. Be proud of it because it still looks good, and just take your learnings from that, from what you created here and any of the feedback we've all given. And yeah, I expect the next one will be stronger because of those understandings. You know. Let's see here. I'm gonna look at the next one's actually is David. Let me see if I can. How would I pull this over here? Let me just pull it over, maybe. Give me 2 seconds here. Okay. This one's David. Let's see if the resolution increases. Looks a little blurry on my. I mean, this feels much stronger from the previous one we saw. It is a bit blurry. Yeah, sorry for the low res capture. Okay, let me see if I can just like screenshot this. So we can look at it. Man, I love how wide this is. Like how wide angle it is. Yeah, compositionally is much stronger, man. I think I would put like a. Why do I not have a drawing tool? Is this the old one? Oh no, there it is. The only other improvements I'd think of is, hang on here. There we go. Is like, so if we right click this and draw. So this is a big light source, right? This space here. This whole detail here is super satisfying. There's some weird lighting in this area that I'm not sure about. Like I'm not sure what that is, but I would treat this whole volume here, especially right here, as like a large light source, at least from a bounce standpoint. So if you think about it like that, you could probably put like a box light here and maybe one over here. that are just giving you like a really soft highlight on some of this. That'll go a long way for like popping these elements out. You know, you're doing a little bit here with this light. Maybe there's a little bit here with some of the objects that are down here. And this is just like, you know, it's just a big box light that's casting this way. That way you get a very targeted, controlled. I'd probably use light channels as well. So that way these boxes are on like maybe light channel 2. And then you put these objects to look at light channel 2 and 1. Or I think it starts at 0. But anyways, the entire environment would, let's say it starts at 0, would be 0. And then you'd make these box lights. These box lights would be, or these rectangle lights would be channel 2. And then the objects that you want to be affected by it, you also tell them to look at channel 2 or 1 or whatever you put them to. But that'll give you a really nice difference or like environmental understanding. Because like this shape will then all of a sudden pop out from its backdrop a bit, right? And so will all these little pieces, and maybe these would also get a nice little pop. I think it'd be nice, a good look. Let me see how many more we have here. Okay, it's 9:21. Oh man, we got to get moving. But overall, this is much stronger than the last time I saw it, and the last time it was already really cool. So be proud of that. The other thing too is maybe with the light, this big light source here, you can get some nice like highlights on like this side of the stairs. You know, maybe it's like just so that those steps pop out a little bit more. Just coming from that. Just think about this as a big rectangle light. Maybe you can play around with that. Again, light linking is going to be your friend with that. But yeah, leaves, cookie, main light, but I think it might only make the castle noisy. I think it's okay to leave it. I mean, it's already quite busy. You could do the shadow casting that we're talking about. Let me just get rid of this. You could do the shadow casting like we were talking about with the leaves, but like imagine it does like the leaf shadow cast is hitting these areas. But then what it's casting through, make it really far away, and those will really blur. So they're not really sharp, but they're more like general changes in value of the lighting. I think that'll help. But I agree, if it looks too noisy and the shadows quite blurred don't help, then just don't do it. Overall, it's very strong already. Cool. How do I exit out of this mode? There we go. They're all connected too. That's cool. That's cool. I should use PureF more for like red pen feedback. Let's do that actually. So I'm going to click these. I'm just gonna drag these in here. Nice. So this one's Chris. Forget how you images, alignment, or arrange, optimize, Control P. So we grab these. There we go. Yeah, looking sick though, David. All right, Chris is saying, "Hey, Jeremy, happy birthday, dude! Thank you very much. Thank you. My day was pretty awesome. It was very chill. We're just chilling, taking naps, having nice breakfasts and lunch. Recently, I've been working on this thermal scope. Up till now, I've only spent time on the main material, so the one of the main body, right? So I can see like these lines as well. I'm taking my time with this one and working on it off and on. I have a feeling my material is going somewhere where I'm happy, but I'd be eager for some feedback. Okay, so if we like just kind of zoom in here, maybe look at this one too. So these lines that are happening in here, I'm assuming you're seeing those in a reference. Maybe right now they feel strange to me because I don't know why they're there, but it could be the way it's being coded. They're milling lines for manufacturing. So milling lines, oh, are they going inward as well? I would maybe, So right now your milling lines look more like they're doing this, right? From a side view. Yeah, I would love some reference, man. Because like the milling lines are usually like normal vector changes where the surface is doing this and then changes angle and changes angle. Yeah, I wonder. Anyways, it feels odd to me. Maybe because of the directionality of the milling. Usually it's more cylindrical in direction, but or like it's going around the object. But generally, stickers are good. The roughness feels a little like it feels a little wet to me. Usually, these are going to be quite chalky looking. I think just taking the overall roughness and just raising the value is probably going to get you a closer reference to the real thing. Okay, I see your. Let's see here. Yeah, so you can see how like the highlight is quite wide. This highlight here. I mean, of course, it has a lot to do with the size of the light that's present, but your highlighter is very it's very small. It might just, I think it's really the roughness just needs to go up in value, just overall. Just take everything that you have and just bring it up by like, I don't know, 0.2, 0.1, and just see how it feels. Maybe 0.2 is actually, sounds a little intense, but 0.2 might be good. And then the roughness of the stickers is going to be a thing as well. What I really like about the reference here is you've got this material, whatever this is. It's like maybe like a rubber. This is metal but coated. There's some like little edge damage going on here. Then you've got like milling direction going this way, milling direction going this way. So the direction shifts based on like how they're getting their shape. So maybe watch some videos on how things get milled, and that might tell you. You can see that directionality is going this way, but then up here it's this direction. So it's probably two passes where they're milling this way and then they're milling the other way. There's some nice like color differences between these stickers and this sticker. There's this like wear or damage that's happening here from like I guess the powder coating on the metal chipping away from usage. This is a really nice reference for this type of stuff. And then this material is different also, and all this damage here and like wear and tear is really nice. This little speckly stuff that's happening here, those are things definitely to look for. Yeah, so I'd look at like how your where the milling is occurring or how it's happening, and that'll tell you a ton. But I think it's really about roughness, and like if this piece is all generated from one thing, I would treat the stickers as their own layer, get their roughness separated from the rest of the piece, which I mean, this looks really nice. This is cool with the normal information here. Just getting that roughness to be different from the rest. Even removing some of the normal information, you can see all this little micro stuff here. Remember, it's a sticker, right? And like this chipping wouldn't be on the sticker. Let the sticker be its own surface and it's masked like everything. If you're gonna have these like smaller details that we're seeing here, at least use a mask and blur them so it kind of looks like it's that detail is present behind the sticker but is being smoothed because the sticker's on top of it, right? And isn't like a perfect shrink wrap. But getting all your materials to separate is going to be key. And figuring out where your fingerprints go, and yeah. It's likely a lot of fingerprints are going to be on this side because you're maybe touching this the most. But I like all the little micro information you're getting. Like this is really nice, the smaller details. Anytime there's a black material, remember the little dots you're seeing here, this type of like breakup that's occurring. Cool. Yeah, roughness is going to be your ally or your enemy, depending on how you deal with it. Okay, next up is Omar. Oh, yeah, that's a good tutorial, man. Okay, so Omar, we got this cool looking, I don't know if it's a dagger or a sword. We'll know soon enough. Man, that is some detail. Happy birthday. Thank you, Omar. And thanks in advance for the feedback. I'm looking for general feedback, but particularly on the balance of detail, believability of materials and texturing aspects, and presentation of the asset. So I really love that it's in an environment and that we're seeing that environment around the asset. That's like huge. So it's a sword. Okay, cool. Detail wise, I mean, there's a ton of detail here. Texturing, like, it looks cool. Looks cool for sure. Just looking at the consistency of the detail. So when you get these like finer details, the stuff that goes quite deep, like the fidelity of this is going to be much lower quality than like what they would be able to do here, right? Because physically it's becoming smaller. So just like if you were to make this here or like make this here and then scale it down to fit here, you're going to run into this issue where things look scaled and whatnot. I don't necessarily feel like I'm seeing it all that much. This one feels like it's a smaller detail that was scaled from something larger. So the edges are much more refined than it is here. So there's that consistency to try and keep everything looking like it's being manufactured in a physical world. Yeah. Let me see what else we got going on here. I mean, generally, this looks freaking cool, though. It's very detailed, but it's also not noisy somehow. Like that's a lot of information. But from back here, it reads nicely. Like it doesn't look like, oh my God, what am I, my eyes. No, it's fine. The materials as well are defined pretty nicely. There's some great separation going on in the surfaces themselves. I don't have any reference that you're going off of, so there is maybe some like saturation that's a bit intense. Whether it's this shot, like the light hitting it is, I guess, from a low sun, so you're getting like the kind of golden hour light hitting the surface. I think that's okay because everything else is a lot more like toned down, saturation wise. This view, you're like starting to peak in the brightness. Like these are getting really, really bright. And I may even blur the environment in the background just a little bit more, but I don't know. Refs posted. All right, let's take a peek. A gander. Ah, okay, okay. Nice. Okay, so let's look at it in this comparison. So you can see maybe yours is this one color wise is maybe a bit warmer than yours, or like a bit more yellow by comparison. But I mean it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I would put these next to each other and try and like tune them, Because I think this lighting is probably the more neutral one that you have currently. Man, there's so much detail going on in that thing. That is pretty wild. It's amazing. Yeah, it's very, very nice work. I think where it maybe is breaking down is like you can see the blade is quite simple, and then there's the tarnishing or effect that the aging that's happening there, and then having these here is maybe a bit distracting. I don't know. Maybe nah, you're okay. You're okay. I think the reason this is okay is because of the shape language stuff you've got going on here. Like in here, it's much more like soft, but because yours is so sharp, the width of this detail here and the width of the detail here kind of like blends the design together. So I think you're actually all right. Color wise, I mean, it's a little bit closer in some of the other shots. I think in here you can see the tarnishing or like this light coloring that's going on here. Getting that inside of here would help like blend it in a little better. It's not clear to me in 3D that the blade hilt goes over the blade. Oh, you mean like this? Whereas like in the reference, like you don't see the back, basically is what you're saying. Yeah, like you don't see under the, I think it's just an angle. I think it's the angle. Because like if you were to position your prop at this angle and try and match the lighting, you could probably tune your material even further closer to what you're getting here in your scene. I think I would just try and get the blade to have more of the, like you can see you've got the spots here, but they're really light. I would take those spots and make them darker like this. That'll probably be the finishing touches because this looks really good. Super nice. Man, that's wild. I don't even want to see the wireframes for this. Oh man. Yeah, that's really nice. You do not want to see the wireframes, no. That's funny. Okay. Up next is David. Let me get all that stuff kind of sorted. Let's see here. No, thank you, Omar. That was really cool. Oh, nice. We got the reference as well, or the concept that you're going off of. So, David, hello, Den. Hope you're having a good day so far. I was wondering if I could get some feedback on this scene. Still very whip, but I need a second opinion on how it's going so far regarding lighting, texturing, and the way the building is put together, and other general observations. Okay, so let's take in the concept first. This is very wow. I feel Barrens Wastelands vibes, or the Barrens when I look at that tower. Oh, Amando's passed out behind me. You're curious if things to know if things like tessellation displacement are widely used in studios and if it's okay to use it in portfolio pieces. It's widely used on terrain, and then in other cases it's dependent on the project. But it's a thing. Okay, so we've got this scene. Then we've got what you've been working on, and you're wondering about like blending it all together, like how the design is going and whatnot. I mean references are looking pretty, you're getting pretty close to it. I wouldn't be too quick to exaggerate these heights. I would maybe try and like the highest point here to the sand. Like you can see how things are connected together. Like this one touches the sand but then goes all the way around, and then there's like a little lip here, and then this grass just goes all the way to the sand here. So this right now, this feels like a top edge. I would probably try and lower everything a little bit, just so that you can get that stuff connecting a bit better. Getting some more atmosphere in there so you can separate things. Like you can see how like there's this landmass I think is actually away from this one. So like if you were to think from a top view, so if I just draw, like that's meeting the ground, then you've got the water here, and then you've got this going out, and that all meets the ground here, right? This looks like it actually meets this. But then back here, I bet there's water. Like if you follow the shoreline behind it, I bet water is between those. So I bet there's a gap between these two. So you can use that as an opportunity to take the whole back, this whole back element here, and push it back in space. So that way your atmosphere gives you more separation. And then you've got this here. That's the next layer. I mean, there's another one here. But like, think about those layers and how you can use your height fog to separate those elements to give you more and more depth. Because that gives you an opportunity also to take these trees back here and push them back in the fog, right? So like, I don't know if these are meeting in your scene, but you could push those back if you needed to. But there's definitely, you're missing a bit of atmosphere. Larger and further away, yeah, definitely. But when it comes to like how you're putting the building together, that's looking pretty good. I think there's some resolution differences and like how you're approaching your materials here. They're just missing the geometry to make it happen. Like if you've got like a height map for this, I would probably model this more rounded to meet the wall, and then use displacement, and that'll give you the kind of like shapes you're looking for when it comes to like these like softer, making it feel like the stones that are placed, right? And that'll help with the bottom piece as well, like how it meets the ground. There's also like textures look quite low res. I'm not sure like what the reasoning is for it, but if we're shooting for like a third person game, like the resolution of these should be able to be much higher. Like this material here can probably be a tileable stone material, and then you could mid poly sculpt on the material or like on the mesh while the material's on it. But yeah, the textile density is a bit all over right now. Like there's resolution different, like this resolution and this resolution are very different from each other. So make sure that you're matching that resolution. Yeah, you could see this one as well is even lower res. So if an object needs to scale, the material needs to scale with it as well. I think it's rendered weird. Res is higher in the engine. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious to see. But the way you're putting stuff together makes sense to me. And it's more about like making sure, like you can see this roof edge is very thin right now. Getting at that thickness and like the structure and the way it's put together. You can also, like in real life, what they would do here is you'd build like a tile piece that kind of protects the transition between the two. Maybe those are their own tiles, for example, that kind of follow the same language of these. I really like these curves, and the silhouettes that you're getting are really nice. Yeah. Think about the underside of this as well. It's okay to make these thicker, and they should be quite a bit thicker just so that you have like the logic of maybe a beam structure that's under the roof that's helping hold everything together. You know, like thinking about how everything is connected and how it's built is going to be important. What do you want up on it? Okay. But yeah, so the main takeaways are thinking about the layering in your big establishing shot, and then resolution of textures, making sure that they're all good to go. Maybe it's just a rendering issue. But it looks like you're heading in a good direction. Try and think about the thickness of the beams as you go, making sure that they are kind of the same thickness, because from a construction standpoint, that would make sense, right? So just something to think about. Overall, though, I mean, when you look at these two, it's feeling pretty accurate. Like you see the roof area here. You can see how wide that is. Don't hesitate to go wider. Like this can go further out, you know, and that's going to give you a much more of an interesting shape language. It's very easy to try and stay inside of this space, but like you're going to get a more dynamic shape if you go further out, right? You're always thinking silhouettes and like large shapes, like what those look like. Are they interesting? And going away from like this, how simple they can become, is going to be really important. Like for example, the roof here, you can see right now it's quite simple, and I have a feeling you just haven't gotten to it yet. But like that's definitely an opportunity to like push that surface and like how it reads on that edge and this edge. There's opportunities there to make it look pretty cool. But yeah, cool. All right, let's look at Nid. Is it Nid? Sorry for the late post. If it's possible to get feedback on this project, that'd be dope. No problem, Greenwave. It's good. It's good stuff. Okay. Let's take a look here. Oh, whoops. Where the heck? Oh, right. Let's do this. Whoa. Hang on here. Okay. Dude, look at this. What's going on? What is that? I don't know. Are you guys seeing that? Wild. Let me see this again. So, initial reaction. This looks interesting. The next thing is, what is this? Obelisk in desert. Okay, so we got these shapes here. Aha! Okay, from this angle, it's much clearer. ArtStation's freaking at 100% twerking its text. Nice. Okay. These are good how you're breaking all this stuff down. Nice. You got some vertex painting, it looks like. So there's a lot of videos in here that you probably don't need to be videos. Let's see. Yeah. See, for me, it's like when you can vertex paint like this to display or expose stuff, it shows that you can do it, right? But I guess the question you always have to ask yourself is, do you need to do it? So if you're painting on this, that means that you're needing that shader to be flexible enough for you to be able to paint on stuff that's being reused a lot. So if you had a ton of pillars going down like a path, right? Being able to vertex paint them allows you to make each one of those pillars look slightly different from each other. But because you only have one pillar here, you kind of don't necessarily need to be able to do that. You could do it with a mask, and then it's more like you just look at the mask when you need to, and it's not part of like authoring the entire environment in a sense. Okay, let's look at like, let's see here, this shot here. So from this angle, maybe even this one, from this angle, I don't know what I'm supposed to be focusing on. There's a lot of like, I mean, there's definitely, if we paste this in here, compositionally, it's quite difficult to know what's going on. So if we look at this shot, right, and D there, so you've got a path here, but that path is broken by a shadow here, and then all this foliage that's kind of like making it, it's making the path basically this, like a little sliver, and you want that to be super clear that there's a pathway here. I think when it comes to, so first of all, I guess when it comes to the layout of the space, getting a path readable is really important so that you know how to lead the eye. There's one obelisk here. I would definitely think about how this path was used in the past, and like where the obelisk. So like this fell over, it's all the way over here, and then this is the top, which is telling me that the obelisk was maybe even like standing here at a time. Why is it way over there, you know? So often I would say think about how they would have placed obelisks if there were more than one, or like designing it to be like functioned. So maybe the obelisk was here, right? And then maybe there's another one here, and then another one down here, and you're getting further and further away, and you've got these like pretty iconic shapes, right? And maybe even right here, this is like you really close to one of the obelisks, so you get this, you get the benefits of the shader that you had built, and you have a nice big close up of it, and then you can use these rocks that are here to kind of like build up around it to like ground the space, and then you can get little grass tufts and stuff like that, like you have here, while leaving this path open. Now you want one or two of them, or maybe a lot of them, like damaged. So having like, instead of this one fallen but still off to the side of the path, have this one fallen this way into the path. So it's like it's tipped this direction, and then it's broken as it went down. And then it allows you to break some of these in different spots, and you can see what used to be there, but it's all just kind of fallen apart. So thinking about how it was and then how it is now, and then using that design in order to make it more interesting and logical in how stuff is placed. Because from this, it becomes very clear, like, okay, this is a path that, like, maybe this is like kind of like the main path for travel back and forth for bringing goods, right? But it's all forgotten and kind of and destroyed and whatnot. Now, the other thing to think about, if I just delete some of this stuff, is the shape language of the rocks. Right now, I don't know what types of rocks these are, so I would look online and figure out the type of rock that you're trying to achieve, and then you want to get the language to reflect that type of rock. Because right now, this is what I'm getting, is these shapes, which is like a nondescript rock that doesn't really tell me what type of rock it is or how it erodes, or so it's not relatable in the shapes that you're displaying. What I will say though, it's really nice is like the logic of what you're doing here. You've got rocks, you've got smaller rocks helping ground it, and then you've got foliage around it that's helping connect everything together. It's kind of melting it all together in the end. So, and it's going from like extra big to like medium, or I don't know if you want to maybe big, and then medium, small, and then micro, and then your terrain, right? So think about how all of that transitions as it goes into the space where like this is the main path, and seeing how everything kind of builds up around itself. Because extra big has big objects around it, and then those big objects have micro or like medium sized objects around it, and those medium ones have small ones, right? And then it all connects to the terrain through micro details, which is why we were talking about displacement on terrain being the primary way of like getting those micro details to help melt everything together that's placed on it. The only other thing I would mention is like the sense of distance, and there's some weird like compression stuff going on in the, what is it, the clouds. I don't know if it's compression or not, but like there's a weirdness going on here. This cloud, there's like a clip here, that edge. The value of this feels like there's something burning over here. And if there's something burning over there, this would probably be darker, right? Yeah, the bloom might be like pushing it too far as well, for sure. But yeah, just some core elements to think about. I'm not sure, like this sky feels strange to me. I don't know. It feels more like space nebulous vibes going on. So think about how you're layering those elements, and then the brightness of them, and of course like the bloom could be blowing out these areas quite a bit. Yeah, hopefully that's helpful, Nid. I've only got a few more minutes. I'm gonna go through pennies, and then we'll probably be out of here for today. Let me click this. Hey, first time on stream. Welcome, Penny. Welcome. This is one of the projects I've been looking to improve on in the future. Hit me with anything you've got. BUAS, represent. Yes. Year 3 student as well. Okay, so let me see if I scroll down. Okay, we have the other images in here as well. Good deal. Okay. Let me pull this over here. I'm just gonna delete this. I'm just gonna drag these in here. It's much easier to just doodle on them, I'm feeling. Cool, and then we'll grab these ones, Control P. Nice. All right, so if we look at this shot, Ref coming in clutch. Yeah. It's I'm having a good time. Now that I can draw on it. So is there anything in particular you're looking for in feedback? Because right now for me, the main thing is the composition. Like you can tell we're in some type of a cave, right? We're in some type of cave. The entrance is just behind this shape here. And you can see the light, and you walk in or you walk out, and you're gonna go that way. Everything's a little off kilter. And so I think it's more important than ever to like, you can have the ground tilted, but you need to have a sense of up and down. So like this shape here is fine. The tilt of the ground going this way, that's okay. It's things like this pillar. I would straighten that out. And I would take the rock could be shaped like this, but I think rotating it so it's more level would be helpful. But I think the way that these are placed on here is very strange, feeling everything tilted. Yeah, so what is helping is gravity is helping with these details. They're helping us understand like, okay, the ground is The ground is tilted. Any way to level out any of the elements in an like this table rock thing, right? And then the pillar is going to help us a lot. We can still allow for framing to be like this, and that's okay. But I think they would have carved this pillar straight up, right? It's probably from the cave itself as well, and then they carved and shaped things. And then anytime they're gonna place stuff on top, they're just gonna level it out, I think. This might be. Hang on, let me delete this. So this, if this is the back of the room, the sand would naturally build up back there because everything is naturally going to try and level out. So if this is tilted like this, it's not going to be like that for very long. And then knowing what the space is used for, like you've got foliage here. This is, again, it's the problems we've been talking about in the other pieces as well is making sure that you have a clear path, because you want to lead the eye to places. Right now the lighting's doing that for you, and that's fine. But visually you're having to like cut through these elements here. Whereas like use those elements to ground like everything that's back here, all of this here. Like you can use it to ground these areas and add complexity where maybe like, for example, you can see here there's a straight line or this line where it meets the terrain. That's a perfect spot for a plant, right? Hide that seam. And then back here, like if it's really, it's not too bad, right? But if we go like this and I follow the line, this is what's happening right now. And this is a great opportunity to take this wiggle and just take some of those. Oh, hang on. Can I undo? No, I cannot. Can I? There we go. Take this plant, for example, make it larger. So that way you get some breakup in the patterns that the mind is trying to build. Removing this plant, maybe putting it here, allows you to look back into this area a little bit from like a compositional standpoint. Maybe this is the opportunity to take a lot of those pots and just put all of them back here. So there's like, I don't know, 20 different pots. Maybe some more behind the pillar back here. But you can see like I'm trying to like keep this kind of clear. That way it's easier for your eyes to travel through the space. And then by straightening out these elements, you have an easier time understanding the horizon, even though you're inside. Or like, is the camera tilted? I maybe, but like now I've got this thing pointing this way. I've got this going this direction. This is going this way, which is kind of jarring. This is doing that. So there's a lot of like angles happening, right? So if you can unify those so that it's easier to read the space, going to be a big improvement. Yeah, this looks like it's the back. So I would let the dirt build up back here. I'd let it go up the back here. And then maybe put like tons of pots and stuff back here. Straighten these out because like those, they just feel strange tilted. Again, straightening this. And letting the rest of the environment, because it's so organic, be organic is good. You could put a lot of pots around this too, if you wanted to. It doesn't necessarily have to be these plants everywhere. But yeah. Poly count wise, these seem generally okay. This one felt a little bit high. These look pretty high as well. This one's definitely intense. This one as well. Like instead of scaling things down, you should lower the resolution if you're gonna make smaller ones, right? Oh, I see your message. Yeah, no worries. But yeah, when you scale stuff down, remember that the resolution stays the same, and it's important to shrink them. Yeah, Jolin. So I have Discord in the bottom right of the screen here, so I'm looking at any of the messages that pop up, as well as chat in the top left. You can see here of my other monitor. Yeah, those are the things I would look out for. And then when it comes to materials, these are very stylized looking. Careful with like a surface maybe looking stretched, and make sure to look at your PBR values to tell us like what this material is. This looks like it's supposed to be like a copper. There's so many monitors. I'll take a screenshot and post it in the chat here in a second, because it's kind of, yeah, I have a lot of screen space now, and they're both like 4K, so there's tons of information I can look at all at once. But yeah. Oh, this is okay. Okay, I understand what's going on here now. Remember to look up reference for the type of rock that you're wanting to build. And yeah, from a trim sheet standpoint, I think this is effective at what it's achieving. I would think about what type of material this is. Like, what would they likely make these out of? Whoever they are, right? But let's say that this is stone. Like in the trim sheet, you can add material variation where it's like, okay, that's stone, but maybe some of these details were metal that were added later. And then of the stone, maybe some of it is painted. So you could add a mask for painted and then vertex paint between them. Ooh, okay, I see. Let me see here. I'm gonna pull this over. The big old image. Right, so it's all like metal. Okay, so I guess we need to see your PBR values on these to really know. But they don't necessarily feel like metal all the time. So, and this one's like a really pristine metal, so. But I like the direction you're going in. It's more about the composition, I think, and not being hesitant to add more of the culture that you're building into the space. Like, just like you've got 3 things here. You've got 1, 2, 3 on the ground, 4th one here. See if you can fit like 20 in here. Like, really tell us what this space is used for in the way you're propping the space, right? But yeah, cool. Yeah, I can. I'll send a screenshot in the stream critiques chat to show you what I'm talking about with all the screens. But I think it's time for me to get out of here. How's the stream quality this time? I think I may have fixed a lot of things. Awesome. I'm gonna have to have some hiccups, but that may be on my end. You should try lowering the resolution as well to just see if those look better to you as well, because they should all look pretty good. But yeah, my upload is now double through the program, through OBS, and I guess I need to fix my music now so that it plays. But I appreciate you guys hanging out, and thank you everyone who's first time posting and whatnot. And I don't look a day over 39. Nice. I mean, tomorrow I guess I'll be a day over 39, something like that. We'll see how that goes. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Just be focusing on some doodles and whatnot, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good end of your weekend. Bye.